It's really good to be here. Let's see, when I was 11 years old, I had an experience that I can only explain as a download of information that showed me how I could affect my reality using my emotions.
Do you have any awareness of what you had done to get into that receptive mode? Or do you think it's just that you weren't doing anything to keep from being in it, and there you were, boom?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's pretty far back to recall, but when it happens again, pay attention.
Okay.
Because receptive mode, when you get a download like that, you definitely were in the receptive mode. And sometimes it's helpful. But you know, you can get into the receptive mode just by recalling that moment.
Yes.
So that receptive mode can be the beginning of many, 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 many more as you just remember how that felt. Not what you heard, not the thoughts that came, but how it felt.
That's really good to know. Thank you. And then something happened when I was 17 that affected my life, where I should have known better from all this information that I had received when I was young.
Never go there. You should never know better.
Okay.
It was a wonderful thing that Esther's inner being guided her to that experience at Taco Bell.
Okay.
That was not something that she should have avoided. That was something that she was asking to understand. And experiences are like that. Never beat up on yourself about something that you should have known
I've been
better.
doing that for a long time.
Well, cut it out.
Okay. Can I share with you what happened? Or?
You can if you want to perpetuate it.
It's interesting. Well, what I'm trying to do is figure out, what I'm fascinated with most is this thought and feeling of expansion.
Yeah.
That I can expand through everything that I go through.
Through life.
Yeah, that the universe revels in everything I do, regardless if it's good or bad.
And if that's true, then you didn't make any mistakes. In other words, what you just said, wise and right on track, contradictory to what you just said about you've regretted it ever.
Yeah, it was pretty big. It was something I felt guilt what I did.
I understand.
So that being said, do I expand at the same rate whether I do a positive thing or a negative thing? Do I still have the same expansion?
Yes, but you have to understand who the I is that you're talking about. Your inner being takes the expansion because everything you live, your inner being receives the expansion. Whether you're in the receptive mode or not determines whether you get to witness the expansion in your own real life experience.
Wow.
That was worth a aha.
Excellent. So guilt serves no purpose.
None whatsoever other than guidance to let you know that this thought is not in sync with what your inner being is thinking. And as long as you continue to think that thought, you're not in the receptive mode.
Thank you so much. One last thing on that. Then what would be the reason if my source expands at the same rate, whether I do a negative thing or positive thing? Why don't I just go cause havoc and just keep expanding? I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous, but
yeah, well, most of the population is doing exactly that. But here's the piece that you're really reaching for here. Without contrast, there can be no new desire. And so you came into this environment knowing that you would be a chooser. Every negative emotion that you feel, let's talk about that feeling of guilt.
Okay.
Every negative emotion you feel means the same thing every time. Your perspective and that of your inner being are crossways from each other.
Okay.
Your inner being is loving you, you're mad at yourself. Your inner being knows your value, you're denying it in that moment. So negative emotion always means a difference of the way your inner being is looking at it.
Okay.
So it's important for you to realize that as you are living and expanding, that the source within you is taking the expansion and calling you toward it too. And that's why the desire bubbles up from within you. So often, you don't know what you do want until you've experienced some of what you don't want.
Right.
So we really like it when you come to the realization that that experience that felt like something that you didn't want, that you maybe even want to feel guilty about, caused a clarity that fit into something that you really do want. We want to describe this vortex to you. It will help you a lot. So think of this vibrational reality, this vortex that you can't see or hear or smell or taste or touch. Think of it as a holding place for ingredients that you're putting into it. So you put the flour in and the eggs and the sugar and the spices, and it becomes this wonderful idea of a cake and then a cake that is really delicious to experience. The flower, not that great in and of itself. Any piece of it, not something that you really want to manifest. And so that's what this vortex is like. Lots of experience cause you to put lots of ingredients, and your inner being is tending to it, and law of attraction is amplifying it, and it's becoming more and more. So when you get an idea for something, that's when all of this life experience that you've been living really pays off for you. Well, you gotta live some life in order to get some ingredients in there. You see what we're getting at?
Yes.
And you knew that when you came. So the other day, someone was talking about some experience that had been evolving and how they felt uncomfortable about some aspect of it. And we said, but what if you were actually inspired from your connection to that experience which you are terming negative or not wanted, in order to give birth to the desire that was so consistent with what you were born to do? Wow. And that person said, wow. Because his habit was to condemn himself at every step along the way, because he was used to people around him saying, don't do that, don't do that. In other words, when you let a world who is not creating their own reality teach you that you need to be different in order for them to feel good, you can get pretty crossways of what the value of life is. And after a little while, you'll say unabashedly or without any apology to the world, it just was, okay? I just lived it, okay? I got benefit from it, okay? And if you can't see it, it doesn't matter, because it wasn't for you, it was for me anyway. You got to stop explaining. We're going to make one statement, and then we'll take a segment of refreshment. So when you take the time to get in the receptive mode and you follow the impulses that come from that, life is so sweet and rich and ongoing, and more clarity and fun and fulfillment and satisfaction and so much good stuff. Talk about a sweet spot. That is so delicious. But when you are living life not from that place and still feeling inspiration, because ideas are still coming to you, they're just not coming from the vortex or from your source. They're coming from lack-based or from guarded-based or from that kind of thing. And you're creating things unwanted. The majority of the world spends all of their time debating and commenting on the life that is created from that mode. Don't you find that interesting? So let's talk about parenting from that mode. Let's talk about politics from that mode. Let's talk about economics from that mode. And we say you can, and you can compare, and you can shake it up, and you can maybe even have interesting debates about it. But it is so paltry and puny and mediocre in comparison with what you deserve and with what you've created and with what's possible, you see. So the reason that so many do so much of this is because they're observing so much of that, and they're not out ahead of it. They're not creating, they're not letting the manifestation come from their decided vibration. They're letting their vibration be born out of their sloppy thinking. Don't you know people who just like so much to solve problems that you almost find them bubbling up in you just to give them something to do? Momentum and creation and vibration. Thoughts are turning to things, 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 thoughts are turning to things. And everything that gets turned to came from a thought that matched it. So have fun with your things and pay attention to your thoughts.